I love the simplicity of fish. There's very few other proteins that are as exacting as fish, and that's part of the appeal for me. Muscles of different parts of the fish, and the eyes and the blood and the bones and scales and liver and hearts. There's endless potential in a fish. We try to remove some of the noise out of our cooking. King George whiting we've got on the menu tonight. We're crumbing it just before service, and then we pan fry it in a pan using clarified butter. We don't deep fry it. The little tail's still on. The sauces that come with it are not touching the fish, and we make all of them. So that's kind of the mantra that we follow here, is don't mess with the actual product. Like, people are coming here for the best fish. In the beginning, there was all those considerations, whether or not you put the token steak on the menu. But then ultimately, there's more restaurants than there ever has been in Sydney, let alone Australia. It came to me more as this level of confidence that I had, where I'm like, I really want to do fish. I wanted people to always reference St. Peter if you want to try really beautiful Australian fish. If you feel like your life can be taken away very quickly, you know, 1 minute you're there and then second you couldn't be, you kind of put the foot down a little bit in terms of how quickly you do things. If you buy a fish that's 4 kilos and it yields 2 kilos worth of soft offal and bits and pieces, to put it in the bin would be foolish. So next to the roe, we have the heart, and then the liver, and the stomach, and the spleen, and then behind it we've got blood and scales that are all potential culinary applications that we can do. The heart and the spleen being more, you know, iron rich. We salt them and then we dry them and sometimes smoke them, and then we chop them by hand and put them through an exo sauce and then maybe cook that over charcoal. So we can diversify the technique, and it's a fantastic way of experiencing offal maybe for the first time, because it's not as if you're texturally confronted by blood and softness. The liver is probably my favourite and probably the best entry-level organ to try. Very similar to a duck liver, like foie gras, which is, you know, more like just butter and richness. Where we celebrate a cut of meat, like a ribeye of beef or a dry-aged this or that, the same thing. Basically anything that you can conjure up in your head that's achievable with a cut of meat, then really you should be able to apply it to a piece of fish. All the scales are pretty much still intact, there's no damage. It's got a nice bit of mucus on the outside of it. It's good fish. Farms serve a purpose, and they create this moment throughout the whole year where you can have a consistent product. Whereas I like the variables that a wild fish offer. Like, it's never perfect, and when they are, it's kind of a really exciting moment. Working in such a high-stress kitchen, it's really hard. We've got incredible staff, but if you don't create a sustainable lifestyle for them, then they'll probably leave the profession. So we've adjusted our rostering system with 4 days on and 3 days off. And then in a 6-week cycle, we send away everybody for a full week. Marrying my wife and having 3 children are all you know, nothing surpasses that. I've shifted my thinking, shifted the way that I am as a person. To keep myself going is, you know, seeing the kids every day, dropping them off at school, seeing my wife maybe before she goes to bed, just watching how they eat, what they find yucky. It's fascinating, and that really gives insight into that level of humility that you need to bring to food to remain normal and grounded and cook for real humans that really enjoy nice things.
조화동은 구시가지라고 볼 수 있어요. 그러니까 굉장히 오래된 동네라. 그래서 그 동네 토박이들이 굉장히 많아요. 굉장히 많고, 그리고 그래서 어느 한편에서는 아주 늙은 할머니들이 떡볶이를 팔고 있는데, 어느 한 곳에서는 굉장히 패셔너블한 매장들도 있고, 그래서 굉장히 다양한 색깔들을 한 동네에서 확인할 수 있죠. 그게 아주 큰 매력 아닐까 싶어요, 저는. 좋은 공동체를 만들고 싶다. 우리가 각자 자기가 좋아하는 일을 계속 할 수 있다면 굉장히 행복하게 사는 거잖아요. 그래서 그런 회사를 만들고 싶다고 생각을 했어요. 그러니까 거기서 누구도 소외되지 않는 그런 집단이었으면 좋겠다고 생각했고, 그리고 실제로 좋은 카페라는 거는 그 동네에서 그 커피를 먹던 엄마가, 어렸을 때부터 먹던 엄마가 자기 딸을 데리고 올 수 있는 그런 곳이어야 된다고 생각하거든요. 시작. 과일 같은 느낌의 커피를 만들고 싶었던, 그래서 만들게 된 게 그 블렌딩이고, 그 서울시네마 같은 경우는 그래서 굉장히 그 열대 과일 그런 느낌의 커피라, 블렌딩 커피라고 보시면 돼요. 우리가 가지고 있는 색깔을 가장 명확하게 표현을 하고 싶다. 실제로 저희가 그렇게 생각해요. 커피는 과일이다. 그럼 이 대체를 아주 적극적으로 합니다. 그러니까 퀄리티가 좀 떨어졌다 싶으면 바로 바꿔요.
그러면 제가 어떤 동물을 심볼로 하면 어떻겠냐라고 제안을 했었거든요. 동물로 된 커피 로고가 없었기 때문에 그래서 뭐 그런 것도 좋다고 해서 제가 그때 대표님이 심지어 물개가 나와도 상관없다 그냥 우스갯소리로 이야기했었거든요. 사람들이 프리츠라는 것 익숙해지다 보니까 지금은 모든 사람들이 물개를 보면 프리츠를 생각할 수 있게끔 된 것 같아요. 가까이서 바라본 제 나름대로 생각은 다른 모든 사람들이 자기 회사라 생각하면서 되게 열심히 해요. 자기 자신이 어떤 직업에 대한 전문가로서 발전하려고 노력하고 그리고 되게 에너지가 넘치고 그 부분이 사람들한테 전달돼서 어떤 브릿지가 완성되지 않았나. 물론 커피는 기본이고 뭐 빵도 마찬가지고 이제 공간 자체의 어떤 매력적인 부분, 직원들의 어떤 행동들이나 뭐 태도들이나 거기서 나오는 또 매력들 그런 것들이 다 합쳐져서 그게 맛이라고 생각들거든요.
그 저희 매장 보면 마포 매장 보시면 그 막 종이 쪼가리 막 바에 붙어 있는 거 보셨어요? 거기 이제 손님들이 남겨준 메모 같은 거예요. 그림도 있고 꼬맹이들 중에 뭐 바리스타 아저씨 이래갖고 제 수염 난 걸 막 그리고 막 이런 친구들도 있거든요. 저는 이제 그런 거 이제 받을 때 기분 좋죠.
My favorite feature in this building is the atrium together with the stairs, because that really combines the energy of the different floors. When you walk in, you can actually see all the different members working together and being part of the community. The feeling that I really had when I came here, I still remember it pretty well. I just got to China and it was raining a little bit. It was a little bit different weather. And I walked in and suddenly I got this energy and it's hard to explain. I saw things happening. Like you see people talking to each other. You suddenly get energy from the design, the colors, the different way it was set up.
But I do think like when it happened, it was a little systemic, it was one of the most.
It starts with the moment they walk in. You have the pantry right away there, so you're very easy to grab a cup of coffee, you're very easy to grab a cup of tea. So immediately you walk in, you're almost triggered toward what we call center of gravity. You're already pulled towards that space, that's where everybody comes together. I think one of the things that we always try to do is find ways of how people can interact with each other. And if you have a narrower staircase, sometimes you need to ask people, hey, I'm very sorry, I need to go around. Or so you start automatically talking with each other. Having those possible interactions happening already on a staircase while you're going to your office, we really try to have the design imprinted in that as well to really make those connections happen. Hey guys, we got snacks for every single one of you.
Let's go out of town for the summer. I wanna go across the trees, breathing all along the fresh air. We will
It was very challenging for us to manage the administrative things for a small team, like how to connect to the internet, how to keep it secure place, and also, especially in China, we need to sometimes interact with governmental things. I think the Weihailu is the great mixture of tradition and modern work style. This kind of combination is really attractive for the startup and global team like us. I think the biggest part is the flexible working seats. Many creative workers requires a different environment to focus. So they go outside of the office, sometimes working in the small phone call boxes.
We may share the moment, just you and I. Just take my hand.
It doesn't matter if you're one person or if you're a company of 10 people. Whenever somebody comes into our buildings, we want to be there, as we said, part of the family. Like, we really want you to come home to us and say, hey, you're new here. We have a breakfast on Monday. You can meet already new people.
Till the end of the day, I will love you till the rise.
Because of the character of the building, that it's a very heritage-style building, is what people drives even more to make a decision to wanting to be here. Because then they're telling their friends, like, hey, I'm in this super cool, amazing building. And that personal feeling with this building and the story behind it makes it even stronger.
I will love you till the rise of dawn, and we'll start over again.
Spaces that evoke emotion and spirituality. I think that's what good architecture is all about. We've been married for 7 years. Interestingly, there was no discussion about how the house should look like, but it falls in place and everyone is comfortable. It's a house that is my work of art, and so it's of course an extension of ourselves.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, Corinne. Hi, welcome.
Good.
Hi,
Thank
hi.
you. Thank you. Shall we head inside?
Yes, let's head inside. So this is the dining room.
Wow, it's got such a medieval vibe, and yet it looks like a contemporary museum.
Dining is always one of the main activities in the house, and we do entertain quite a fair bit. So it has to be the main focus of the house. If you were to know my wife Jess well, you know that she's always on pants instead of skirt. Her persona is masculine, yet with a little feminine touch.
This looks like a normal staircase, but if you look closely, you can actually see that the concrete slabs are floating.
The material can be ordinary steel and concrete, but the task of doing this form work requires great skill and lots of experience. Japanese has this aesthetic sense called wabi-sabi, which means that celebrating imperfection as a form of beauty. I adopted the use of fair-faced concrete to celebrate that.
So it's like a canvas for your wife's art.
Oh yes, indeed. It's the most perfect canvas whereby anything can be hung, removed with nail marks that's not patched up and is still form of natural beauty.
Edmund's house is very impressive. When you first see it, it is very, very stunning because it's very austere from the outside. But what I personally like about it is that the inside of his house is very warm, very inviting.
This piece of artwork is not one that is dainty and delicate, but rather look at the kind of texturing, the kind of broad brush strokes, full of energy. It's so masculine with a confident line that draws through, an almost abstract portrait.
Does it bother you that your living room doesn't have glass out of which you can peer out into your environment?
Well, it's a curated decision. We want to frame the view. So the only two slits of the glass in this whole concrete block to look into curated landscape with trees being planted. So this is one of inward-looking kind of architecture.
Wow, this is a very unusual walk-in wardrobe. What was outstanding for me for this house is that it's almost like an architectural ode of love to his wife. He always jokes that she has the last say, but when you talk to Jazz, the interesting thing is that Jazz always says she did not have much say in the house at all. She just left him to create freely. And that really tells you something. He really understood her fully and produced a house that really spoke a common language between the both of them.
When she walked in the door and I could see that big smile on her face. And that's the best reward that any architect building their own home will get.